Welcome back. So today we're going to talk about our early days and our challenges. So we'll probably make some of you feel a hell of a lot better after you hear some of our failures. Um,
Or hope you can hear some of our stories and see that it is like it's been hard, but it's possible.
yeah, always solutions.
Yeah. So when we first started looking at Springhill, we actually didn't tell anyone what we were doing. We needed uh, no negative comments, even if it wasn't negative. We just didn't need anyone's comments to
Doubt.
make us doubt what we were doing. So that's been a big thing throughout everything is trying to block out the negative and just keep on the path that we know that we want to do and achieve.
Yeah, create a bit of a bubble around us when we're making them big decisions that eliminate everyone else's input.
Kids are first priority. I
Mm.
always want, it's been one of my priorities all along, is to drop the kids to school or put them on the bus, and I'm always there to get them in the afternoon. It does make life a little bit difficult sometimes because it's very hard to juggle being, an hour from town, you know, wherever we're working at the time. It has been a big struggle, but it's one of my biggest priorities is I'm their mum, so that's my job.
Yeah, and I think that was important with me being away so much too. Like for a big chunk of that time, I wasn't there much at all, and even when I was there, like I'd work 60, 70, 80 hours in our off-farm business and then come home and be down building sheds or putting fences in. So like when they were really young, they didn't really see me much at all. So it was really important to make sure that you were there as much as possible to make sure they had that good solid base.
Yeah, balance.
Yeah.
When we got on to Spring Hill, it was really wet for the first year.
Yeah, 2016 was a really wet year. And I remember the neighbours were saying, it's the wettest it's been for a long time. And it was like, oh, good. Like, we've come to a good place, and there was plenty of grass, plenty of water. Like, yeah, things were pretty peachy there that first, I would say probably 18 months. It was a pretty good season.
And then we went to really dry, so experiencing our first drought. So we'd spent 2 years with leasing and gisting, then purchasing Spring Hill to build our herd up. And I remember purchasing a really nice bunch of Angus Cross shorthorn cows to only have to, 6 months later, sell down our herd.
Yeah, well, that was a cracker of a drought. Like, it was our first drought, still learning our way, finding our feet, and we went straight into that 2018, 2019 drought, and it was a beauty. Like, all the locals said that's the worst drought that they had ever witnessed in the area.
At the time.
Yeah, at the time. And even springs on our place, which were known as, good, secure springs, and you could see where the previous owners had dug the springs out during dry periods in the past, and they were bone dry. What we learned in that time was to really value water. Like, we can buy in feed, but cows drink a lot of water too, so if you start having to cart water around, it becomes a pretty big job.
And it was a big job. And when we purchased Spring Hill, it was great. It had the Patterson River. Tick, we've got a river. But we didn't actually really realise how important that river was, because in the drought, all the other rivers stopped flowing. So we were very lucky we had constant water still for the cattle. And that then became after that drought, we then plumbed water through to all the paddocks.
Yeah, header tanks and troughs in every paddock, and
a big pain point for us.
And just to clarify there for people listening that don't know where we are, the Patterson River is dammed. We're about, what do you reckon, 2-3 k's downstream from Lostock Dam. Lostock Dam's an irrigation dam, and it was built to supply secure water through dry periods for all the irrigators on the Patterson River. So, when, like Jody said, when we first bought the place, there's quite a few good rivers in our area, like beautiful rivers when they're flowing, but when it dried, like the next river over from us was bone dry for probably 12 or 18 months then, where we still had good, secure, good water. So yeah, the value of that really came to show through that dry period. I think the other thing that that was hard through that drought period was, like Jody said, we'd built up our herd and we'd finally got a mob of predominantly black cattle, which was always our goal. And then we ran through that drought and realised that we either fed the cows or we sold the cows. So with all the training that we'd done at the time, the best thing for us to do was to sell the cows. So we early weaned all our calves. Any of the calves that were old enough to wean, we weaned them and we fed them because they're a lot easier to feed. They don't eat much at all. And the cows we sold. So we completely sold our mob, and just had, I think we kept about maybe 40 calves, I think, at the time, and we just put them on the creek where there was a little bit of like green pick, like not much, but there was a little bit of green pick, and we fed them some pellets to keep them poking through the drought, and just carted water down to them every day. So yeah, that was a bit of a setback, wasn't it? Like, it finally felt like we'd built some momentum and we were getting somewhere, and then load the trucks up and say goodbye to the cows and see how we go.
The kids come everywhere with me. So even the fencing, I remember fencing with Nate and Sky. I was pregnant, so it was really, really wet. The kids just stayed down in the paddock with us all day while we carted the fencing materials and put the fence up. And
yeah, when we fenced that creek paddock, it was that wet. We drove the ute on and we got about 50 metres in there and got bogged, and then it was like, well, the fence needs to go up. So we just started carrying all the posts and all the materials across the paddock while the kids stripped off to their undies and slid down the down the paddock in the mud. But there's a picture of them on the gate. They're just absolutely covered from head to toe in mud.
But there's a few things we learnt. Like, we're an hour out of town, so like that day, because they were in the mud and the swampy water, Sky come out covered in bites. So I learned as a mum early on of the things that we needed at the house. So like antihistamines, like they're in the cupboard all the time, because being so far out of town, you need to have certain things that can help in situations like that. Sophie fell out of the pram when she was 6 months old, straight onto concrete, straight to hospital, quickest drive to Singleton I've ever done. But I got the nurses then to show me how to check for concussion so that I could check at home. Obviously, if I would always still take them to hospital to get checked, because I'm that sort of person, but it's good to know little tips and tricks being out of town.
You also become, we had a nurse down the road that worked in the ER, so like there was quite a few times where you'd run down the road to see her as well, and she'd help us out
she's
a few times as well. Yeah.
Glued us up a couple of times.
Yeah.
So that's all your challenges for now.
Oh, there's still more. We go. Well, do we?
Well, we've done rebuilding. Like, cash flow was a big thing.
Talk about that.
Yeah.
Talk about how you got through it and whatnot.
So cash flow was a big issue. Like, even like at the beginning, we didn't have the cash flow. We didn't have the money to do much at all. So we looked for jobs to do that we could do without money. Once the cash flow come, we could then get materials, but then we still didn't have machinery. So like, it's been a step by step challenge.
Each time you sort of solved that challenge, it was like, oh, well, then there's the next one now, like you say, the equipment and the machinery to be able to do.
And I used to have lists. Adam used to go insane with my lists. We would write a list, that would all get ticked off, and then there'd be another list, and that would all get ticked off. And these lists that we made were to get us onto the farm full time. When we got this done, we could, become full-time farmers. The list never stopped. So at some point, we just had to take the dive. But on a farm, there is always a job. There's always money to be spent.
There's always something that can be bought. There's always a piece of equipment
that can help.
That's old, or we need a new one, or needs replacing or repairing. There's always something to do.
And then if you think you're flying high, then the cows get a paralysis tick, or the calves get a paralysis tick, and then you got the vet out. And normally we've found once you get the vet once, he's back at least another 2 times. So it's quite an expensive time. Balancing the off-farm business was another, like, Adam worked away a lot. I remember being pregnant, walking up and down the paddocks, because we would strip graze our cattle on the crop that we had in at the time. So I remember walking kilometres every day, changing the fences up and down the hills. At the time, we used to joke we definitely didn't need a gym membership. It's probably still the same now. We get asked by our coach, like, what exercise do you do? Well, we don't actually do exercise, but we never stop. There's never a dull moment. We're always on the move doing something.
And I remember in them early days when we were still doing the off-farm business as well, we all had head torches, and I had a torch in my car so that the nights that I came home, I could go and shift the cattle in the dark. Like, we did it. Fencing, we didn't, like, the head torches were for fencing. We did a lot of the fencing in the dark with a head torch on. It was just a matter of, we had a plan and we knew what we wanted to do, and we sort of made a way to make it happen, and that was pretty much just put our head down and work.
And I suppose I can add this in, maybe Mel, maybe not. One of the biggest things that happened to me at this time, and it was a big lesson of to slow down a little bit, not too much, but I raced, like I said, chasing that bus every day. Like, I worked, got up, got the kids ready, worked, drove back home, kids off the bus, and I couldn't stop. I didn't have time to stop and do shopping. And Adam got home about 7:30 one night and there was no food, like nothing. And I was like, okay, I'll go back in to Singleton, which is an hour drive back to town. I was exhausted, but we needed food. So it was back in the car. At the time, around home, there was no mobile service. So I get down the road and had a head-on with another vehicle, and I couldn't ring Adam to say, like, this is what's happened. So I had to get out of the car and every airbag in the car went off. And I thought at the time I'd broken my wrist. And I remember just running back up the road screaming for Adam because he was in the shed with the kids and like screaming, Adam, like, and yeah, luckily no one was hurt. The car was written off. We still didn't have food that night.
We didn't need to eat.
No, but it was a big lesson. Like, you know, you can do everything, but you've also got to slow down because when you're that busy, you know, you're on high alert and things can go wrong. So that then was a time where, you know, and I remember so clearly the kids' car seats in the back. When I had that, the kids weren't in the car, but I remember thinking, oh my God, if they were in, because I remember the noise of the seats coming forward and just thinking, thank God they're not in their car with me. And I could see he was going to hit me, so I was trying to go off to the side. But because we're in the hills there, I was so thankful that he ended up hitting me, because if I'd went any further off the road, I would have tumbled right down the hill. So,
and you're lucky he didn't push you off the road too. Like, you're lucky he hit you straight on, not on an angle sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, you know, it was bad that I had a head on, but we've always tried to take lessons out of everything that's happened in our life. Like,
don't wear thongs when you're watering the trees.
Oh, yeah. Bitten by a brown snake, watering the trees in thongs and 40-degree day. I've never been so calm in my life, but I knew I had to be calm because that's what they say to do.
That was probably the last time I really worked away. Like, I was in Canberra when that snake bite happened too. So I think like the lessons we've taken from these things is like, I think out of that, I didn't want to be that far away from you guys ever again. Like,
well, Adam had to drive 5 hours not knowing really.
Well, I couldn't get hold of anyone. Yeah. The ambulance rang. I had a missed call. It seemed like an odd number. It was from Orange or Dubbo or something like that. So I Googled the number and it said New South Wales Ambulance. And I kept trying to ring you and I couldn't get hold of you. And then I think you sent me a message and said, been bitten by a brown snake, ambulance on its way, I'm okay. And I was like, I just lost my shit and walked up to the workshop manager at the time where I was working and said, my wife's been bitten by a brown snake, I've got to go. And then quite a few of the guys rang me on the way home just to make sure I was paying attention, I think, to what I was doing. Probably try to take my mind off it. And I think I spoke to people the whole way home and then got to the ambulance, to the hospital, and you were bloody right as rain.
So what a lot of people don't know is I think it's like 70% of snake bites are dry bites. You don't know that at the time. But the ambulance officers were so good. They knew at that stage, anyone that knows the Singleton area, the Hunter Expressway wasn't built. So we went through Maitland, and within half an hour you'll show signs if you've been bitten by something venomous. So by the time we got to Maitland, they knew I hadn't shown the signs, so it was probably a dry bite. So I
diverted you to Maitland instead of the Martyr in Newcastle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in saying that, like, my foot still swelled up.
Still painful. Still wasn't a good experience, was it?
No.
And then any time you were in the paddock after that and something brushed against you, I mean, you remember you got the bandages out one day.
Adam thought I was absolutely ridiculous because I got brushed probably a couple of weeks later by a stick and I had him compression wrapping my leg because I was so scared that it was a snake bite again.
The things you do.
So work-life balance has been something that we've always tried to achieve. Just family is a really big thing for us. the kids being a part of everything we do, but also making sure they have our support and love is very important.
And I think we learnt along the way too that like it sort of ebb and flows, doesn't it? There's sometimes where you get plenty of times to go to the coast on the weekends and spend time with the kids, and then there's sometimes where we've got to work through the weekends and get things done. So I think accepting that, and when we do have the time to spend with the kids, we make sure we do, and when we don't, we see how they, like quite often the kids will come and help us work and do things with us there that we've got to get done. two different animals, you get the best of both breeds sort of thing. And quite often they'll finish nicer and perform better as far as a growth rate goes. So, always sort of that Angus base, but definitely open to them couple of crosses that we do find work really well for our program as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Do you need me to ask that question, Mel, or is that good?
Yeah, maybe ask it. Yeah,
Oh,
just be
same
like,
sort of thing. Oh,
hey,
here's another
DM.
question.
Yeah,
Yep.
we got this one from Facebook Messenger, or you
Yep.
can email us, whatever.
Yep.
Okay.
Righto, guys. So to finish up each episode, we're going to do like a frequently asked question. So if you've got any questions, just DM us or send us an email, and we'll try and get through as many as we can. But this week's another one that we get asked quite regularly, and it is, why do we choose Angus cattle? We'll dive into that.
Okay, perfect. All right. You want to do one more and then I'll let you have a coffee?
Podcast?
Yeah.
We can do one more. Can we, Jody? What's this one called? What's this one called?
I don't know if it's any good, Mel. I hope you can work your magic.
I really like it. It's good.
Well, I
You
like.
guys are very good for the first time, and I think you were good with the emotion then as well. It was really
Oh, it's hard to think about it now, and I think that there's so much more. Like the amount of tears that I have
No,
cried.
I just can't believe, it's amazing. The stories are just, you guys are so tough.